Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Feudal Future podcast. I'm Marshall Toplansky.
I'm Joel Kotkin.
And today we are so fortunate to have Dr. Daniele Struppa, who is a globally renowned mathematician and president of Chapman University. Daniele, welcome.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Well, today we want to explore the topic of GPT-3, Chat GPT, these large language models and generative AI technologies, and what their implications are to humanity. It's a really huge topic. Joel, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons we wanted to have Daniele and to talk about this is he has the rare qualification of being both a mathematician and also a humanist with a classical education. I can only say I only have half of that. I have the classical part. I wouldn't use my math skills for anything. But I think that the question we really want to ask, have we lost? Okay. The question I really want to ask is, with the growth of these new artificial intelligence platforms, are we seeing a threat to the very nature of humanity? Are we headed to the kind of future that Harari and others have talked about, in which humans become a subset of mathematics?
Well, that's a great question, a very provocative question. First of all, I'll answer with one word, and then I'll elaborate a little bit. I think the answer is no. I'm really not very worried, to be honest. I think as technology advances, we always feel this tension about being replaced. So I remember when I was a kid, and I am dating myself a little bit, but the first hand calculator came about. And my professor would say, wow, the calculator, you're going to forget how to do simple operation, which to some extent is true, but obviously that hasn't really destroyed our society. I remember as a kid, one of the things we learned in school was to take the square root of numbers. I would give you a big number, 6 or 7 digits, and you calculate the square root. There was an algorithm. Now, to be honest, if I had to do it now, I would have to think about it. I don't remember the algorithm. But that has not taken away anything from me. So I think the first thing is to sort of chill, realize that technology will continue to advance, and there will be other things in which we can establish our humanity. Now, one of the things that is interesting is that there are kind of two ways in which people look at this new artificial intelligence. Some people look at it with fear, and some people look at it with glee. And I'm always surprised, especially by the glee component. Mm-hmm. So there is a fear, we're going to be replaced. Well, I don't have that fear, and I can elaborate in a few minutes why I don't feel that I'm going to be replaced by machine. But then there is the glee component. When there was this competition recently and somebody won an art prize with the painting that was all made by artificial intelligence, I remember reading an article that concluded by saying art is dead. Kind of almost like a triumphal thing. Yeah, we finally going to be replaced by the machine. Well, it's a symptom of a sick society, but has nothing to do with reality. And the reason why it has nothing to do with reality is because it's not what we know that distinguishes us. See, what the machine do, let me tell you a brief experiment I made the other day. I'm an expert on a specific topic in mathematics, and I don't want to bore your listener with that. But I put a question to the chat thing, and I asked to explain that topic. It was a great response, very good response, maybe 15, 20 lines in which he gave a good general idea what this is. Then I asked to tell me some of the major players in that area, and did a very good job. There were some mistakes, some people had nothing to do with it, but by and large, that was a good set of references. And then I asked a key question. I said, what are the interesting questions that one should ask about this concept? And what the chat gave me was a little very good. The responses were perfectly good, but there was stuff that was from articles. I knew all of what I was told because either I or some of my colleagues had written in some of our papers. It would be interesting to see whether one of these days we'll try to understand what. But when I talked to a real mathematician, what distinguishes a good mathematician from a great mathematician is the capability of asking the good questions. And so today I was here with some colleagues here in Tel Aviv, and I asked the same question, and the question I heard was, the answer I heard was completely different. So the reality is that our humanity is still alive and kicking. Of course, the machine can summarize a large body of literature very quickly, faster than any of us could do. But the question is still, how do you put that extra aspect, which is where the creativity comes into the picture? What is that?
That is something I really want to explore, because are we moving into a good enough culture when it comes to intellectual rigor? You know, where the idea is, especially among students at universities, where you say to the computer, okay, give me everything that's been out there about XYZ topic. It comes back with a pretty good, you know, Bedeker of pre-existing thought, and then people say, okay, well, good enough, turn it in. Will that demotivate people to kind of take that extra step where creativity makes a huge difference and you think out of the box?
Well, there is one quality that I always say is one of the few differentials between humans and animals, and I would say between humans and machines. And that difference is curiosity. And curiosity is the ultimate spurrer of creativity. So you can ask me a bunch of questions, and you ask a bunch of questions to the machine will probably give you better answer than me, because I may not remember specifically maybe a date, I may not remember the right citation. So I'm not going to compete with the machine in that, just like I don't compete with cars when I run. Of course, a car is going to run faster than me, and I don't feel that that's humiliating or is that denying my humanity. But where I excel and where I'd like our students to excel is curiosity. And that's actually something that us as university professors, but also the entire educational system, need to look at ourselves. And we are not doing a good job. You spend time with a 4-year-old, any 4-year-old or 5-year-old, and they're going to ask you the beautiful question. They're going to ask, why is the sky blue? You have a beautiful blue sky behind you. What makes it blue? Where is the water going when there are the low tide? Why is gold shiny? Then kids get 20 years old. They still don't know the answer to those questions, but don't ask the questions anymore. So what has changed is not that they know more. They don't know anything more, and they can find the answer to these 3 questions on the chat. But they've lost the curiosity. And curiosity was spurred the creativity, because now when I want to really understand where the water goes with the tides, I have a first quick thing that is about the moon. But then I look into more detail, and then I discover it's really complicated. And that's what draws me in. And that's where I get ideas that will eventually spur other innovations. For example, but could we use that to produce new energy? Could I take advantage of this gigantic movement of the wave? So my comment here is that it is up to us to make sure that we don't use these tools to just make us lazier than we need to be, and rather we use them as a spurring. You know, I have all this access. That's great. I don't need to, I can get all this information, and then I need to use my mind to expand.
Right. I mean, you think about the notion that, you know, that innovation is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. If you can kind of mitigate the time it takes to go through the perspiring part, right, and pull out all of the existing data, maybe you could actually have more time for curiosity and inspiration. But I worry about it the same way you do, in terms of, well, how many people will do that?
Well, I think that what probably is going to happen, I think is going to be even more than it's now. You're going to have a smaller amount of people who are actually going to take the leadership in our society, and then a large amount of people that will just be replaceable and will just do more menial contribution to society.
Well,
that's what it is.
Feudalism alert. Feudalism alert.
This is something that Roni Alvovitz, who was our guest on our show, who's been involved with the metaverse, raised the question that many of the jobs that will be eliminated will be the very people who are in the glee about AI, because, you know, they can be replaced, whereas the plumber, you know, is and maybe the nurse's aide in a hospital, the carpenter is probably much less likely to be replaced than the mid-skilled tech worker.
Absolutely. No, there is certainly an entire group of workers that are not going to be replaced so easily. But there is a large aspect of society, the gleeful people, I think, they will probably be replaced, or at least, I wouldn't say replaced, but they will be given service functions, and they will not really be participant in our society at the highest level.
I read an interesting article yesterday about the ability of GPT-3 to debug code. So there is a certain irony there that the people that created the code will be replaced by the machines that can do a better job of maintaining the code than they can.
That's right. But, then the question will be, somebody's going to come up with new languages, for example, new computer languages, and somebody's going to come up with different sort of way to apply them. So I really, as I said, the fact that I don't know how to take the square root and I use the calculator hasn't diminished me. And I remember my professor, my advisor, when I was a young man, he was able to do certain calculations that they were done at the beginning of the 20th century that I had no idea even existed. So this is not really a problem. I think it's, the schools are, there are articles in the newspaper where now universities are getting all worried about and cheating. Well, again, people cheat if you give them easily cheatable tests. And if you ask them questions that they can easily find on the web. But one of the quick answer is to just have an oral exam, like we do, for example, in Italy. Every exam is oral. Chapman, we have very small classes. That would not be a problem. You have 15 kids, you give them a test, an essay to write, and then you call them out and you discuss it.
Yeah, I think, I think we're in the intellectual curiosity business at Chapman. I mean, that's one of the things that I think distinguishes us. But I do wonder about what the implication of these technologies is on kind of the business model of education, of especially of university education. How much of, for instance, professors like me, are the biggest cost item in a university's P&L. If we can have 20% fewer professors because we can teach them the basics using AI, would we do that?
Well, a model of that is kind of happening in a way already. But the reality is that a good university may delegate some basic stuff to machine learning. And I have no problem with that. In fact, I always advocated that stuff like Math 100, where you teach people how to do multiply polynomials, divide polynomials, stuff like this. We really don't need teachers for that. It could be done in an automated fashion. The computer can not only give you problems, but also see what mistake you do, and so give you different. We can do that. But where we then need people like you, or like Joel, or like myself, is to do the next step, the questions, the understanding of the global picture. That's what I think we are still irreplaceable. The point is, we need to know that we need to be special in order to keep our job. If all we do is to teach little technical things, then we are useless and we might as well go home. The point is, what do I give my students in class? I am convinced, and maybe I'm a little self-centered here, that what I do in a class is not easily replaceable, because the set of connection that I can establish is not something that it can easily done by an AI. And I believe the same is true for the two of you.
But the thing that's difficult, and it's hard to talk about, also because I'm not just a teacher, but I'm a father as well, is we may have this excitement and we may want to bring it out, like, the opportunity of my students to hear, a Muslim and a Jewish religious leader talking back and forth about issues. But what bothers me is the lack of curiosity that and I don't know whether, like for instance, I know that my youngest daughter was a tremendous reader. Then she got a phone. And now she's back to reading because she's going to a small liberal arts school, Sarah Lawrence. But the issue of being interested, I remember when I was teaching many years ago, kids would come, oh, I'm really interested in that. Is there a book I should read about this? Or I didn't know about that. I find less and less of that. You think that's a result of the fact that people are used to getting the answer by Googling it? and therefore they no longer have that kind of curiosity?
I don't know. I mean, sometimes I feel the way you do. In fact, sometimes I really feel like the young people, they don't have curiosity anymore. But sometimes I feel that maybe it's just because I'm older and now I have a warped perception of life. The three of us have chosen a kind of intellectual activity that is not common. So we feel that our students don't tend to our standard, but we shouldn't be thinking about that, because they don't necessarily want to become what we are. And for some of them, a more plain life in which there is no curiosity, it's perfectly fine. And I don't think they're going to believe miserably because of that. I think they're not using life to the fullest extent. I think we have been given an incredible machine, because this is a fantastic machine, and I enjoy using it. It's like having a Ferrari and you go to the shopping center to buy the bread. Well, you can do that. It's a kind of a pity. It's kind of a waste. You can use a Prius to go get the bread. The Ferrari, you want to go on, PCH and hoping that there is no police looking at you. You sit down, looking at the ocean. And I think that some people will do that. I think sometimes our age comes in the little bit in the middle and makes us think that things are worse than they really are.
So how do we make them better? I mean, what steps can, other people who are teaching at universities, what can we do that's different, that supplements and works with AI instead of is crushed by it?
So first of all, I think the solution is not in colleges. The solution is in first grade. First grade, second grade, third grade. The thing I've seen with my children, I have 4 kids, has been horrible. And now I'm very happy because my 2 latest girls, one is going now and the other went before to a private school, Pacifica Christian in Newport Beach. And they're getting the kind of education that I think they should get. And their curiosity is being built. So I think really we need to go back to the K-12. The K-12 has abdicated, in my opinion,
yes,
its fundamental role. And that is a crime, because we are taking intelligent kids and we are wasting them. We are killing their interest, we are killing their curiosity, and I think that this is a tragedy. Now, where are the universities responsible? Well, we are responsible because the teachers are people that we graduated. So we cannot escape our responsibility. We have not done a good job in educating the future teachers. Our society thinks that being a teacher in elementary school in a K-12 system is not such a big deal. No, it's a huge deal. It's a huge deal, because that's how we build the society of the future. So to your question, what should we do? I think we really need to rethink our education. We need to make it more rigorous. We need to make it more exciting. But ultimately, we also need to be clear that learning is not always going to be easy. I think that being curious is tough, because so now I want to know why the sky is blue. Well, there isn't a Google answer. It's a complex phenomenon. Where is the water going during the tide? I need to have the courage to enter a complex situation. And I think that that's what our school need to teach. They don't teach anymore enough discipline, I think, for this. And I know that I sound really like an old guy at this point, but I think that the discipline and the willingness to sit there is important. There is a piece of Gramsci. I know that Joel is probably smiling because you heard me quote him before. Gramsci, the founder of the Italian Communist Party, and everybody knows I'm certainly not a communist, but he once wrote a beautiful piece about studying Greek and Latin. And he was in prison when he wrote that piece. And he said, we don't study Greek and Latin to speak the languages. We don't study them to translate. And we study because of 2 reasons. First of all, because it tells us something about the civilization we come from, but also because we want to teach our kids the kind of psychophysical discipline that is going to be indispensable for them to become the intellectuals that every society needs. It's the best expression of our faith in the value of intellectual work. He said they need the discipline, because he says, otherwise it would be impossible for them to be sitting at their desk 10 hours a day, which is what they will need to do when they grow up. Now, it's about discipline, and it's about the value of intellectual work for a society. And Gramsci said it very clearly, for every society will need that. And I think that that's what we need to go back to thinking that what we do in schools really matters. And we need to teach our kids discipline, and we keep their curiosity alive. And we need exciting teachers. We need teachers that feel that passion. We need teachers that when they read the Odyssey, have a tear coming out because they get captured by the beauty of what we are reading, because the human sentiment that emerges from there is so strong that shrinks their heart. And that passion is translated to the children. If we lose that, then of course we'll become machine. But I know that we will not. That's why I'm ultimately an optimist in this.
Well, I'm delighted to hear that you believe that there's hope for intellectual curiosity and for people to emotionally relate to learning, not just intellectually relate to learning. And hopefully, you know, these technologies will make it a little easier for people to assimilate the baseline of knowledge that allows their minds to be able to go to the next level. We want to thank you so much for being on the Feudal Future podcast, and we look forward to seeing how all of this works out.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure being with you, and it's always nice to see you both.
Well, you'll see us in the flesh soon.
All right.
Take care and safe travels.
Thank you. You both take care.